Okay. Looks like we're streaming. I don't see it though. I sure would like to see it come up on YouTube. Come on, baby. Let's check Twitch. Oh boy. Okay. So we're live on Twitch. Testing. Okay. That's working. Let's see if we're up on YouTube. I don't see us on YouTube yet. Wonder why. Doggone it. I really... Okay, close enough. Let's get the chat up, just in case somebody jumps in. And we'll test that. Appears chat's working. Okay, so I apologize. Doing a lot of things for the first time here. So anyway, this is the Houston Garden Tour. We're in Houston, Texas. I've been trying to grow or learning how to grow or getting better at growing vegetables here for about 7 years now. I'm doing everything in mobile pots or containers for a couple of reasons. One, we've moved 4 times and we're probably not done yet. So I like to, as I've been doing this over the last 7 years, I've always anticipated a possible move. So I've done everything mobile and something that I can move from to a new house if we decide to go. Plus the soil here isn't very good anyway down here in Houston. It gets really wet. It gets really hot. Lots of challenges to growing vegetables down here. So first thing I want to talk about is watering. Down here is my water. I catch rainwater, and after every rainstorm I can get about 2 days worth of watering from this one rain. So I've watered a little bit already. I started the stream and forgot my mic, so I did a little bit of watering. So what I'll typically do with this rainwater in my barrels here, I'll just pour it in on the top. And in fact, I already did that one, so that one's really going to probably be overwatered and running out. And if I'm watering with a hose, I'll spray in all of these little growing troughs. Each barrel's got 50 little slots that I've created on the side. I cut these slots with a saw, and then I come back with a torch and a 2x4 that's designed like a wedge, and then that's what I use to make these little elongated slots, or growing slots, I guess I call them. So each one of these I'll dump about a gallon in. Some of it runs out, but it's okay. Did I do this one? Yeah, I did that one already. Okay. And this year, everything that's growing right now was planted in February. And it's actually made it through the summer probably better than it ever has. I keep losing track of which ones I watered already and which ones I didn't. And it's mostly because I'm retired now, and so I can water every day. And I get the time to do it. So my plants have survived better than they ever have. Now, we'll pour a little bit of water in these as well. Now down in the bottom here, I've got 3 washing machine tubs. You know, I don't know if you can see them or not. They're white, and they're about 1.5 inches deep, and each one of these growing pots, 7-gallon growing pots, has a hole drilled in it at about 3 inches from the bottoms, and they also have reservoirs in the bottom. So when water goes in these, there's about a gallon or so that will stay in the bottom of this pot, but anything that runs out of it, out of those holes that are 3 inches from the bottom, goes into the trays, the drip pans for the wash machines underneath here. So then those will fill up either from rain or from overwatering these buckets, and those will fill up with water. And then I'm using mostly grow bags in here, and the plants that are in these grow bags will suck water up. So in this down below here, I've really got 2 different water reservoir systems. One is the down in the bottom of these pots, I have 4-inch water pipe or plastic drain pipe. I've just got it cut in about 4 or 5 inch lengths, and then I have this cloth over the top of them so that the dirt doesn't go down into the water reservoir. And that'll wick up then. So from the reservoir up into the dirt that the plants are in the bucket. And then of course the drain pans down below is the second reservoir. Now I have some pots. I got one over here that maybe I can show closer. I made these, and they actually have a bit of a water reservoir in them also. I put this over the top so that in the spring when I'm planting, I got a little bit of a greenhouse effect. But these pots do not drain on the bottom, but I have a hole drilled in the side of them at about 2 inches up, so that this area down here, it's got soil in it, so it's not like a reservoir that keeps the dirt out like the other ones, but this will always have, about 1 inch of water because it's recessed in the bottom here a little bit, so it's only really about 1 inch of wetness in the bottom of these. Now the other way I designed this was I wanted some hanging planters, but I'm going to do another part of this tour that's going to be about composting, but because I got this in my hand right now, I want to talk about it. The stem on the pot here, on the teapot, I just keep stuffing garden waste in here. In fact, I got to go get my garden waste. I got a whole bunch of it that I'm going to use in this video. Checkers, what's going on, buddy? What's the matter? Are you working? Are you working on something? Come on, buddy. So garden food waste goes in here. It composts and feeds the plants that are inside. Oop, Hades, do not eat my... I just picked it, or didn't pick this. It fell off the tree this morning. This is a persimmon. And my dog is trying to eat it. This is Hades the Great Dane, Slobberface. This is Checkers, the Cocker Spaniel. And then we have a American Bulldog here somewhere too. So let's get back to talking about watering. So up on the top here, I have, I think, 8 of those planters, and every one of them's got a little water reservoir in the bottom. I don't have any water reservoirs in these clay pots. Well, yeah, I do. If you look underneath, kind of a reservoir. I got them up on rollers, but it has a little lip on it, and those have holes down in the bottom. So it does maybe catch a little bit of water, and maybe I get a little bit wicking up. So that's not really a reservoir, but it's a water catch kind of. Now, these are my persimmon trees, among other things. But these pots have the same kind of reservoir down in the bottom, where I have 4-inch drain pipe cut in about 4 or 5 inch lengths, and then I have the cloth over the top of it, and then the soil on top of the cloth. So, and a hole drilled in the bottom at about 3 inches up. So 3 or 4 inches of the bottom of each one of these is a reservoir. So now one of my other things that I'm doing is on most of these I've got what do you call that cloth, forgetting the right word, landscape cloth. So I have landscape cloth, and I cut it extra long so that I can stuff it back in there and cover up the soil to help retain moisture. But then I think I can lift this up. These grow pots are right on top of the dirt. They're not on top of the cloth. So whenever I'm watering these cloth pots, the water that goes through them and runs out the bottom also waters the tree. And because they're cloth, they're helping to keep the moisture in the soil as well. So it rained pretty hard here yesterday, so you could make a case for this watering trip right now isn't really necessary, so I'm not really putting a lot in. And I'm just watering from the top, and I'll explain what I mean by that here. So I mentioned that each one of these has a water reservoir down in the bottom, and then I have these PVC pipes that go down into that area that becomes the reservoir. So normally, I mean, if it was hot out and it hadn't rained in a few days, I'll run my hose in here, and I'll just run the hose in here. And again, there's holes drilled 3 inches up in those pots, so I can see when it's overflowing. As I'm filling these tubes, water will start running out the side, and that's when I can tell the reservoir is full. Checkers. He's our hunter. Well, Hades here, the big Great Dane, he's quite a good hunter also. Anybody in chat? No. He's a good hunter. He's killed some animals, some possum, which I don't like, and I've tried not to have that happen. He's killed a couple of baby possum, and that's just a great animal to have around. There's been a couple of times when I would come out here, and the mother possum would be up on the fence line. She travels the fence line, and she'll be carrying her baby. As soon as I see that, I put the dogs in the house, of course. But there's a couple twice now in the morning I have caught Hades with a dead baby possum, unfortunately. We have some new neighbors moving in, so that might be what the barking is about. Okay, so we've talked about the rainwater, we've talked about the reservoirs, let's see. That's really about it for water. So let's move on to the next topic, which will be composting. So I got to go get my bag of compost in here. Sorry about the mess. We're a busy family. Wife works full-time plus. Okay, so, come on, Hades. Come on, boy. So I mentioned that these pots are composting systems. So I'll just take and I'll stuff compost in the teapot. What do you call that? The pour spout of the teapot. So I already have quite a bit in these, so hey, checkers. Must have somebody at the front door or something. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so that's basically how I just go around and I stuff vegetables in these teapot. And then as that decays, it becomes compost and feeds the plants that are in the little teapots. Here's another one. And, this one right here. Okay, so the other thing that I have is on my planters here, I have a composting worm system that, honestly, it hasn't worked out that great. But if you can see the tube, I've got 4-inch drain pipe, and that's the kind of drain pipe that's got the holes drilled in it for drainage. And I fill all of those up, and that goes all the way down to the bottom, by the way. Some rotten asparagus. And I fill these up with compost, and then the worms can feed off of that and go in and out of the holes, work in the soil, and eating up the compost. Now, I've actually purchased some worms a couple of times and put them in these, but also anytime I see an earthworm on the ground, I pick it up and I put it in here. So now the other thing I do with compost is this is my heavy duty composting system over here. And I'd love to have about 8 or 10 of these, but these are just garbage cans that had holes in them. Old garbage cans that most people probably would have thrown away. And one of them didn't have any holes in it, so I drilled some in it because I want to have some drainage. So what I do, start on this end, and I fill them up with grass clippings, leaves, even some dog poop once in a while, just to get it cooking, and then some of my waste. So I'll be cutting the grass again, which will probably fill this one up on my next grass cutting. And what I'll do is this is the final product over here. So this is fairly close to done. I'll be using this in February when I replant again. In fact, you can see some black soldier fly grubs moving around in there. That is they look like a maggot. Some people might think they're disgusting, but the black soldier fly larvae is like the best composter ever. So they're native here, so by putting a little bit of food waste in each one of these, it attracts the black soldier fly, and they start chewing this up. They don't eat the grass clippings. They don't eat anything that's what would you call that? Not organic, but they'll only eat food waste, but they'll eat anything. They'll eat meat, bones, eggshells. I put eggshells in here, so you know their poop is just as good, if not better, than worm castings for composting. So what I'll do is, this one's full now. This one here is I'll put, what I'll do is let them cook a little while, and as they go down, this one's just about ready, and when this one's down about halfway, I'll dump that on top of this one, and then when that one's ready, I dump it in here. So everything gets turned about 2 or 3 times per year. It's not as good as a composting system where you're constantly churning it up, but I am getting some oxygen and churning by moving it from this one to that one to this one to this one. So that's my composting system there. I have these tubes. Now I don't have the tubes that go down in every one of my bins. Some of them I put the tube on the outside, and I actually those have planter holes in them, so I plant plants in those tubes. But that's the composting system. And sometimes I've used fish, and I used food waste. I'll pick these grow bags up, and I'll put a bunch of food waste under them, which is then composting under the bag, feeding the tree, but even also feeding whatever roots are in the bag, at least a little bit, mostly for the tree. So these are all persimmon trees. They're covered mostly in Malabar spinach, which is like one of my favorite plants. So let's start talking now about the plants. What I can get to grow down here in Houston is okra, which is kind of at the end of its cycle now. But I love okra, and I eat most of the okra raw out here while I'm working and doing something and watering the garden. I'll crack off an okra and eat it raw. And then my little Cocker Spaniel loves okra. In fact, I gave him one yesterday. He's got it chewed up on the floor in there. So okra, Malabar spinach is great, especially down here. This is Malabar spinach. It's a vine. It seeds prolifically. That's why I got a little bit of orange on my hands. It's actually a really good dye. But most of this here, I did plant a little bit this year, but most of the Malabar spinach that you see in all of my planters here is from last year, reseeding itself. Now, one of the reasons I like it, well, one, I like spinach, and it's a good spinach. So I use it on sandwiches. I cooked some mushrooms on the grill the other day, and I put some spinach on top of them with some cheese. I like it steamed with butter. In fact, I'll pick some here before we're done. But the other thing about it is it's a great shade for anything else that I'm growing. Now we're at the end of the year, so you're not going to get to see a whole lot here growing, but it shades everything, and the sun here just bakes the crap out of everything. So the other thing I can get to grow pretty good are jalapenos, different kinds of peppers. So I got one over here. Here's one. Here's another one. This one's got a lot of jalapenos on it. That grows good. So at this time, all we're really seeing are different kinds of peppers, okra, and the spinach. Now in the spring, I also like to eat and plant spaghetti squash, which seems to grow good down here in Houston, with the exception of the vine borer bug that I'm constantly battling. And then rambutan squash. This one I just have it in here composting. This is a rambutan squash. Usually it'll curve. It's a really cool looking. It grows prolifically. I only had maybe a dozen plants, but I probably got 30 of, and this is a small one actually, of these rambutan squashes. And it's hard. You can cut this off and then put it in a spiral cutter and make spaghetti out of it. There's only seeds down here in the bottom. So spaghetti squash, I probably got 100 of them this year. And I froze some, I pickled some, ate some of it. I like cooking spaghetti squash on the grill. I'll take a spaghetti squash, I'll cut it in half, take the seeds out of it, and then I put some oil on it, and I put it over here on the grill, face down, and kind of like sear the squash part of it, and then, which gets it partially cooked, because it takes quite a while to cook that squash. And then I flip it over like a boat, and then I fill it up with onions, jalapenos, tomatoes. Sometimes I'll even put meat in there. Sometimes I'll put barbecue sauce on it. And then that cooks in, so the squash becomes like a bowl that I'm cooking all those vegetables in there. And then spaghetti squash, if you've never had it, after it's cooked, you scrape it out with a fork and it comes out just like spaghetti. In fact, it's not exactly like pasta, but it tastes, sometimes you might even have a little trouble telling the difference between spaghetti squash and actually pasta. So then what I'll do is I'll take that thing and I'll scrape all that pasta out. I'll have the rest of the vegetables and the jalapenos and everything on top of it. And then sometimes I'll put, most of the time, I'll actually put spaghetti sauce on it and then some Parmesan cheese. So it's just really good. It's fun to cook. These are chives here, if you can see them. They're really, really tasty. It's kind of like an onion, but it's got a sweetness to it. And those I brought down here from Michigan 10 years ago, and they're still growing in the same pot. In fact, they expand, which I let them do. It's like a, what do you call that? The roots actually expand. But also when they flower, they're planting seeds all in some of my other pots. So I started out with one pot of them, and I probably have 4 now. 4 different pots with chives growing in it. And I like chives in a lot of different things. Anything that you put onions in, you can put chives in. But probably my all-time favorite is putting them in cottage cheese. Cottage cheese and chives. All right, so we talked about the composting, we've talked about the watering systems, we talked about the plants, and that's approaching the end of the story. I wish I had somebody watching that could ask some questions. So when you're watching this in my recorded video later on that I'll edit, put questions in the comments. So I'm going to go get my little tray, and I think it's right here. Yep. And I'm going to pick a bunch of spinach, and then I'm going to steam it. And then we'll talk about that a little bit. All right, so I just look for leaves that aren't too. This time of the year, the leaves start going bad, or not, I don't know about bad, but they get kind of ugly and they get some spots on them and stuff like that. So I just kind of select the better ones. I love this stuff. Something just fell in here. Okay. I prefer to not have bugs in my spinach, you know what I mean? So, I've gotten some tomatoes to grow down here, but it's difficult. And like I said, I don't have a green thumb. I'm more of a scientist when I'm science project when I'm growing things. But I've gotten some tomatoes to grow. Cucumbers are really tough, but I've made it a couple times. I've gotten some to grow. Tomatoes. One thing that does grow good that I didn't plant this year is sweet potato. They grow pretty good, and the sweet potato vine is kind of like the Malabar spinach. It becomes a really good shade. Oop, great big bee. Just so the Malabar spinach has a little flower that you'll probably see from time to time here, plus some of the peppers are flowering still. So I get a lot of bees. I actually did some experimenting also with trying to make some bee feeders, just using sugar water, and that worked pretty good. Yeah, it's a little bit hard to. A lot of leaves are getting kind of nasty right now. The other thing that the spinach works good for is I'll come along here and I'll just pick all the bad leaves and I put them in here for ground cover to help turn into compost. So they're a really good chop and drop type of plant. And the other thing about them is they got a lot of water in the leaves, a lot of water. You can just about squeeze it out of these leaves. Let's see if I can find one. You can see that they're a little bit glossy, kind of. Let's see. There's one. Let's try this one. See that? Look at the water coming out of that. So when I chop and drop them, I'm getting a really good ground cover that has a lot of water in it. Okay. I don't need too much spinach. I didn't check behind myself over here. Here's some more nice peppers. Oh, there's the okra. Let's pick this one for checkers. The okra, you got to get it when it's really young. Hades likes okra too, but they'll chew on it like a bone. It's interesting. Checkers! Checkers, I got okra for you. Come on, buddy. Oh, here you go. Watch this. You smell it, then you'll grab it and go. How about Hades? Want an okra? Oop, guess not. Put that over here. Checkers will come and get it later. Okay. Yeah, we're reaching the end of this Malabar spinach. Maybe it'll take off again this fall when it's a little bit cooler. I mean, I'm passing up a lot of leaves. I'm just looking for some decent ones, you know. If you catch them at the right time, I mean, you can get some leaves that are like this. And even when they're big, as long as you steam them, they come out good. I mean, they're not like too tough or anything. There's a nice one. The younger the plant, the nicer they are. And in fact, when you get closer to the top of the plant where the new growth is, there's probably a lot more way up high there that I could get if I got my step ladder. Okay, so that's the tour. I forgot to pour this out. This is watermelon. that my daughter bought and didn't eat. Anybody ever have that situation? Let's pour it in here. I'm like the garbage can of the house anyway. So a lot of times when food is going to waste, I'm the one who's finishing it up. Okay, let's go in. Boys, you ready to go in? Checkers? Get your okra. Get your okra. Attaboy. There you go. You like that? Okay. Now he makes a mess with it that I gotta clean up every time, because the seeds will come out and he doesn't eat the seeds. So he carries it around like it's a prize, like it's his prize. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. Put some comments and questions in the video, in the message chat, whatever it's called. Let's see. Let's go here. Come on. I'll get the hang of this. I'll be faster and better at this after a few times. Where is my... This is my control panel right here. It's a Live View Solo Pro. So it's on my back, and I've got 4 modems in my backpack. You can see that here. I'm running 7,800 kilobytes per second. One of my modems is not working, and it is the T-Mobile modem is not working for some reason. Probably just got to plug the USB in it. Sometimes they fall out. But it's also connected to my home AT&T router. So it's really spreading the signal, the outgoing signal, across 3 cellular modems, and also using it bonds all of those together and then goes out as one signal from the Live View.